Hi, I wanted to share with you all the differences in different cases and artwork for certain games. Some of these things matter to people, but at the end of the day, I think it's really stupid and ridiculous that people think it matters the way the artwork looks, because it's only a change in color or look and design of the case. And in pretty much every single case, you know, the game is the same game. It's the original game, just in different packaging. So I'll show original PlayStation, and this is one of those things where collectors say, "Oh, I prefer the black label version over the green label version. I don't like the greatest hits." Some people even say what I consider to be extremely strange and stupid is that the green is just an eyesore. I don't like the way it looks on the shelf with the other black label games. I really don't understand the reasoning of that. You want them all to have the same color spine. Who really cares? It's still the same game. The title itself is still in black. It just has a green tab on the top. You guys know that these were made, if you don't, they were reprints of the original because the original game sold so well. I think with the original PlayStation it was 250,000 games or more sold in the US, and then they reprinted the game and resold it at a lower price, so you could get, this game might have been $49.99 or $59.99, and then it was sold later at $29.99. It's the exact same game, no different. But collectors are weird about this stuff, and they seem to prefer the black label versions. Now here's one of those cases though where the original had the special, I think it's called lithograph label, where the cover of the manual has a special cover on it, so that if you turn it, the images, just like certain trading cards have this, the image looks different. It kind of sticks out in 3D. So yeah, with this reprint you're not going to get that in this case. And in most cases it's the exact same image. It's no different from the original. But people complain about that, say I want the black label version. Now in this case I can understand it, because you get this special cover, which I guess makes this one limited edition, I guess, if you want to call it. But like I said, it's still the same game. So I really don't understand the argument. I don't really care if I have this version of the game or this version, but that's me. Some people are real particular about that stuff. There are a lot of people complain about GameCube. They say, well, I don't like the player's choice, because the player's choice has the yellow on the side when the original version of the game has black, and the yellow just sticks out. I don't like how it looks. I can't stress how amazingly ignorant that is. Who cares if it looks different? You got the title of the game, same background, same title, once again just a different colored tab. That's the only difference, and you're going to complain about that. Here's another thing I want to bring up. Some people think or believe that the original release of the game, which apparently sold well enough, sold a lot of copies, and I'm not sure how it worked for GameCube, if it was 250,000 sold and then they reprinted it and resold it under the player's choice label, or is it 500,000 sold? I don't really know how that works. But it sold well enough to be reprinted and resold, so once again the price would have been lower on the player's choice. It's the exact same game. Both games have a manual and of course the game disc. The manual doesn't have a special little deal on it like the artwork does. But once again, why is that such a big deal? Why do people care about that? So they tend to think that the original, what they call it black label, the way that it's more rare because it's the original print. That's not always true. In fact, in many cases, especially with PlayStation, it was rebranded, right? Resold once again. Well, most people, since the game sold so well, they already own the game. The game's already out in circulation. It can be bought and sold, given to friends, given away, whatever the case may be. It's already out in the wild. It's all over the place. So then you think, well, the reprint, maybe people didn't buy it as much because they already have the game. That's actually a good point to make. They may not have already bought it, and that's my whole point of saying that these are actually can be the more rare versions, the greatest hits versions. And I've had other people say this as well. This isn't something I've just come up with on the fly. So I would suggest, and I actually believe myself, that The greatest hits versions, or GameCube Player's Choice versions, are actually even more rare than the Black Label versions. And the good news about that is collectors and other folks don't seem to really understand that, and so they'll charge more or also pay more for a Black Label version of the game, when the greatest hits versions of the game, the reprints, are actually probably more rare and hard to find. So that's my whole thought on that, and I brought the Xbox 360 to show you. This is the original label, how it looks, and then you got the what they call the platinum hits, so they just resold it once again for a lower price point. But the point I'm trying to make is that I believe these are actually the more rare and the more sought after, and should be the more sought after and more hard to find. Another example is Silent Hill as a greatest hits. It sold a ton of copies, a lot of copies. As a greatest hits, it sold, I'm sure, a lot of copies, and yet that game has skyrocketed in value. I really don't know why. And the greatest hits version of that game sells for at least $20 less or more than the Black Label version. I don't know about you guys, but I don't care what I have, the black one or the green one. I like them both. They're both good in my opinion. So just wanted to throw that out there. I know that collectors are weird about stuff sometimes. You know, you got misprinted labels. Sometimes the text is misprinted. You can't really, you know, when they brought it to the printer, they misspelled some words, and that makes it unique cover or whatnot. That matters to some people. It doesn't really make a big difference to me. It's interesting, but does that make the game more rare? No, it doesn't make it more rare. But there's like a general consensus that the original prints are the hardest ones to find, because in a lot of cases, when it comes to things that you collect, the originals are usually the more sought after than the reprints. Especially when it comes to old comics. Some really old comics were printed 20 years later in the 80s, and they don't have nearly the same amount of value as the originals. But the fact of the matter is, even though that may be true, the originals may have sold millions upon millions, and the reprints only sold a few thousand. So what do you think is the more rare when it comes to numbers? So just something to think about. I'm not suggesting completely that the greatest hits is more hard to find than the original versions. However, I am suggesting that since these probably didn't sell as much or as many to as many people, that they may actually be the more rare and hard to find. That's my personal opinion. You guys don't have to agree with me. Just thought I would share this with you all, and I think it's completely stupid and ignorant. The fact that some collectors think, oh, I have to have a certain kind because the other one, they claim they don't like the color. I think they just want the original print. I think that's what it boils down to. They just don't like that it was reprinted. That's the only thing they don't like. Me, I personally don't care. Some people really care about that. Alright, I gotta pick up this video on the way, and thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.